Okay, give it a second. Okay, give it a second. Okay, give it a second. Playing with him. Give me 2 seconds. Playing with him. Give me 2 seconds. Playing with him. Give me 2 seconds. We live? All praise to Allah. Okay, assalamualaikum family. My name is Sister Najia and welcome to Mending Relationships, the importance of atonement for community development with the youth committee members of the Nation of Islam. Before we begin, we will open up in prayer. So attention prayer, Sister Ali.
Praise be to Allah. Attention prayer. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. Surely I have turned myself to Allah, striving to be upright to Him who has originated the heavens and the earth, and I am not from among the polytheists. Surely my prayer, my sacrifice, my life, and my death are all for Allah, the Lord of the worlds. No associate has He in this time I commanded, and I am of those who submit. O Allah, Thou art the King. There is no God but Thee. Thou art my Lord, and I am Thy servant. I have been greatly unjust to myself, and I confess my faults. So grant me protection against all my faults, for none grants protection against faults but Thee, and guide me to the best of morals, for none can guide me to the best of morals but Thee, and turn away from me the evil and indecent morals, for none can turn away from me the evil and indecent morals but Thee. And O Allah, bless Muhammad, and bless the true followers of Muhammad, as Thou did bless Abraham and the true followers of Abraham. For surely Thou art praised and magnified, and O Allah, make Muhammad successful, as Thou did make the true followers of Muhammad successful. And make the true followers of Muhammad successful, as Thou did make the true followers of Abraham successful. For surely Thou art praised and magnified in our midst. Ameen.
Ameen. Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum. Like I said before, welcome to Mending Relationships, the importance of atonement for community development. We want to thank you all so much for joining and thank you for participating in the hashtag Let's Set Atone challenge, highlighting the importance of mending relationships with ourselves and our peers. We learn in the Nation of Islam that self-improvement is the basis for community development. But let's be real. After we enter that new phase of our personal development, how many of us actually go back and atone and point out our previous wrongdoings to others?
Right.
I can speak for myself when I say that it takes a lot to humble yourself and point out your wrongdoings, especially when mistakes shall not exist in Islam. Now, it doesn't mean that they aren't going to happen, but it means that when it happens, we correct them so it doesn't happen again. With that being said, I'm going to introduce our phenomenal guest speakers on today's topic. We have Sister Ilyasa, Sister Joy, and Sister Alia. Would you all like to say something?
Yes, ma'am. I just want to say thank you for putting this together, for having us on. I'm super excited to be here. I'm super excited to get into this conversation. And yeah, I am very much ready.
Yes, ma'am. Praise to Allah, Sister Alia.
This is so beautiful in the spirit of the anniversary of the Million Man March. I feel like this is just a beautiful way to start off, or finish off the year, as we should say. I'm just really happy to be here and really excited to get into this discussion because, as we know, it is needed, and we must atone. I love that title, by the way, with each other, so we can really build our communities. And I feel like this is just going to be really beautiful. So thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. And Sister Joy.
Just really, really excited to share or have this amazing conversation amongst my beautiful sisters.
Yes, ma'am. Praise the Lord. And I don't know if you all can tell, but we are already tight. So just coming on here to be able to have this conversation, and it's going to be fun. So praise the Lord. Okay, so our first discussion prompt is, as we know, this live stemmed from the hashtag Let's Set a Tone campaign, where we are literally just setting the tone, resetting the tone of the atonement process. Why do you feel like the Let's Set a Tone campaign is important? And how do you feel like this could help with our mission in the Nation of Islam, which is the resurrection of the mentally dead?
Could you repeat the middle part of the question? Just want to make sure I understand.
No problem. So I can actually start from the beginning. So I could say, as we all know here, that this live stemmed from our hashtag Let's Set a Tone campaign, where we are literally just resetting the tone of the atonement process. So why do you feel like the Let's Set a Tone campaign is important, and how do you feel this could help with our mission in the Nation of Islam, which is the resurrection of the mentally dead?
Definitely. I feel like that question is very on time because when you're dealing with the people or the original people of the planet Earth, we have been so stripped of just the qualities or the I should say tools that we need to be able to work as a conducive community and unity. And that rhymed. But that's because we don't have those tools, and all praise is to Allah for the minister giving us the 8-step atonement process. But I feel like it's so necessary because we don't know how to properly atone with each other. I'm sure many of us have different experiences or have different stories with different family members, or just know of someone that has some type of problem or some type of beef with somebody. And it's like, why can't we just resolve this? It's because we don't have the proper tools. And I feel like this is just a perfect way to atone with one another and really try to strengthen our relationships between, brother and sister, mother and daughter, father and son. All of these things is very necessary for us to have a strong foundation as a community and as a people. So.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I'll raise it up. Definitely first agree with Sister Alia. I also want to say, when you really look at what we have on the atone, Let's Set a Tone challenge, it's like all these things are, first of all, we all know a reminder is a blessing. And some of this stuff, we may know it technically, but how often are we actually doing it? We have watch lectures like Love and Duty and How to Mend and Heal a Broken Heart and Fear, Faith, and Truth. Watch those. We may know those lectures, we may have watched the lecture, but when's the last time you watch it? You know what I'm saying? Or checking in with a brother or sister that you don't know. When's the last time you've done that? We know that we're in the war. The war of Armageddon has begun. Not maybe, not so. It has begun. And the only way we're going to survive it is first getting self right and then getting right with our brothers and sisters. Because the minister said, the nation's never going to fall again. So are you going to fall? And if this nation that's never going to fall again, there's people in the nation who are never going to fall, which means you got to be close and connected and unified with your brothers and sisters in the nation. Because if one of y'all fall, all of us fall. That's not going to happen. So are you going to be the individual who set aside because I have beef with this person, I beef with that person? It's Allah. I'm trying for that not to be me. So we definitely want to just go back and really look at our relationships with one another, how we're treating each other, and just, like you said, revitalize, take a step back, reset. So yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, and just going off what Sister Alia said, mending those relationships between one another, it's extremely important because like they said, you can't build a nation if we all hate each other. I can't stress the importance enough of how important it is to be able to love, of course, your brothers and sisters, but also love yourself, because it all starts with self at the end of the day. So if you don't have that self-love, you're not going to be able to love yourself. You love your brothers and sisters, or just in general, be able to build those relationships. So
I definitely agree. And this actually leads into my next point, which is the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan speaks so highly and so heavily about love and what it means to lead with love. And I feel like in the last 2 years, he has definitely like zeroed in on it, like highlighting love and why it's so important. And Sister Honora, which if you all do not, I'm sure you all know her, but if you don't, please follow her at LUNARALMUR. She's phenomenal. And she had posted this snippet, and the minister has said, and when you don't have love for you, how could you have love for me? How could you have love for anyone if you don't have the love of self? So God's teaching to us is accept your own and be yourself. And we keep saying this, but this live stream is about mending relationships. And as we said in the previous question, the Let's Set a Tone campaign, in the forming of that campaign, I love that we focus so much on like, we got to make sure that we talk about like atoning with ourselves, because you can't atone with anybody if you can't even atone with yourself. Like sometimes we make mistakes, like you said, we deal with things, we go through things, and sometimes we can't even forgive ourselves. And imagine like, how are you going to give somebody else some grace and you can't even give that to yourself, So why do you feel like how do you feel like having self-love and leading with love and seeing the God within ourselves and within everyone else contributes to the atonement process? Do you feel like it contributes to the atonement process?
Yeah, most definitely. That's crazy. I was just having this conversation with someone like about a week ago. One thing that you don't want to get caught up in, you don't want to allow a situation to hold you back to the point where you're stagnant and not moving forward. Growing and developing, it's very, very important, especially the time that we are in right now, especially as youth, since we're getting ready to take the baton, or the baton is getting ready to be passed on to us. We can't get caught up in little things that weigh us down and hold us back from moving forward. So at that point, it becomes a question as to, actually it was a sister who told me this, I don't remember her name, but she's from Chicago. She said, how much power are you willing to let that person have over you? Whoever is causing you the burden or the weight, let's say you are atoning, or even if the person's atoning with you, or it's not like, it's not to your, I guess, level of expectation. Are you going to let that situation affect your relationship with that person and also yourself to the point where you can't move forward? So it becomes a question as to what you are willing to allow and not allow. So.
Most definitely. That's because I feel like, that's just crazy. And that sentence in itself makes so much sense. If you can't love yourself, how can you love somebody else? Or how can you effectively communicate or effectively carry out a task or listen to those in authority, or just in general do anything when you don't even respect? Because if you don't love yourself, how do you respect yourself? That's literally a foundational principle. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like if the way the minister leads, oh Allah, I'm so grateful to Allah for this man. But the way the minister leads, how can you step in between? He's known for going to our communities and stepping between conflict between the Bloods and the Crips. Come on, who else do you know that has stepped between gang members and say, hey, let's try to settle this. Let's try to, get to some type of resolution to where they're taking each other's number down. And this is the physical thing that happened. I wasn't there physically, but my father was, you know what I mean? It's just to witness that amount of love that it requires to be able to do that. How can you step in between beef of two people knowing that you could possibly be the one that's end up at the, you know what I mean? Like in the, I can't find the words right now, but like ends up in the crossfire. Thank you so much. But like, that requires so much love. And I feel like that's important when you're dealing with your brother or your sister, or maybe somebody that you don't know. If you don't have love for if you can't see that in somebody else or see value in somebody else, that's a dangerous thing. You know what I mean? Because that person that may be injured, or you just witnessed a car crash, like, oh my goodness, or what's going on? We need to reevaluate, because it requires a certain amount of love to move out and do certain things. And we can't progress as a community if we don't first have that foundational, love for self and love for one another. So I feel like that's a very, very important, just foundational thing in general to have. So
facts. I know we're definitely taught self first, and that's so real, because like first and foremost, the minister said you can't love him if you don't love yourself. If his job and his mission is to be here to save you, and then you don't love you, he can't even do his job. as long as we're still so hyper focused on I'm so terrible, I'm beyond redemption, then the minister can't do his job because he's here to save us. So if we can't see ourselves as being worthy of being saved, like you can't even love Allah if you don't love yourself for real, because Allah created you, period, point blank. And he knows your mistakes, he knows your flaws, but he still can look deeper within ourselves and see all of the magnificent things that of himself that he put in us. Not just great things, but great attributes from him that he shared with us. But if we can't see that, if all we're focused on is how terrible we are, then what are we saying about the person who hated us? Are we so sure we're beyond saving that Allah, Master Muhammad, is wrong? If his whole thing is coming here to save us. So definitely you can't love the three if you don't love yourself. And they can't do that if you don't love ourselves. And in the atonement process, you know, if you don't have a deep enough love for yourself, you know, like we say, you know, we hate ourselves, which is why we're killing ourselves. So if I hate myself, then I hate what looks like me, then there's no point in me trying to tell my brother and sister, because in reality, I don't feel like I'm worthy of atoning with them, or I don't feel like they're worthy of atoning with me. And that's just not it. That's not what we're here for. So you have to, oh my God, I lost my train of thought completely. Like essentially, yeah, like the level of which your atonement works is also fully dependent on the level of love for self. Because if you don't see, the thing about atonement is you have to do it all the way. You can't half atone. You can't stop.
Come on now.
Sometimes atonement takes years. It's not just immediate, but you have to do it all the way. But if you don't have enough self-respect, then you do a half atonement. It's okay. I forgive them. And in theory, if you actually forgive them, that's nice. But in reality, when you don't finish atonement, resentment starts to build in. So now you're doing a disservice to yourself, and you're doing more so a disservice to them, because you're resenting them when they're thinking it's all good. And now again, the brotherhood, the sisterhood is being fractured because I didn't really care, because it's fine. Because when you're okay with letting things happen to you, because I used to do that a lot, to be honest. I was very passive. So if I felt disrespected by people and disrespected by actions, I just wouldn't say anything. I wouldn't bring it up. And I'm thinking it's all cool, it's all good. But no, because low key in the depths of my heart, I have resentment building towards them. So now I'm not a good sister to them. And that was because I didn't care about myself enough to fix an issue. And now I'm being a bad sister to you, thinking that it's all good because I'm trying to avoid conflict. You need conflict to grow, because after conflict, you get way closer. There's people in my life where it's like, oh, you know, it was kind of difficult, but once we were able to work past it, they're in my life now. So yeah, you have to love yourself enough to let somebody atone with you and to atone with somebody. So yeah.
Beautiful.
Really good. I just want to say something based off of Sister Elias was saying. You were speaking about love. Allah is so magnificent. He makes everything interconnected. Like you can't do one thing without doing the other. You can't do that thing without doing the other. Like it's really crazy. So like I remember the minister talking about we need to have more love. We need to it's a paraphrase, but it's like we need to have more love with itself. And like when you love yourself, you're able to see the God within your brother and sister. Like you're able to see their gifts, and you're able to like pinpoint it and admire them. And that's how envy goes away, like jealousy, envy, all of that. That's how that disappears. When you're able to see the God in that person and see how Allah is using them, and just overall get inspiration from them. Inspiration is really, really important in our nation, because if we're able to be inspired by one another, that just pushes us more to, you know, what to work and what to grow. You know, and on top of that, you mentioned the courage to say something. Yo, that's the
that's the like you said something with this one.
No, like because I remember when I was younger, there would be like a lot of, especially as a junior, there'd be like a lot of stuff going on, and like you'd be wanting to say something, but like you don't be feeling like you have the right to, or like you're qualified enough to, or you're just straight up, you know, scared. But once you realize all of that really don't matter, because at the end of the day, it's not really about us. It's about our nation, and honestly about the other person, because what you're doing for the other person, although they may not see it at that time, it's helping them, because the purpose is always bigger than the sight, like what's at the eyesight. You know, it's always so just those points.
heavy on what you said. I want to speak on what you said. I know what you said. I got my points. Like I got my notebook over. I'm like, oh, she. Dang, I wish I could remember what. Oh, you said when sometimes you as a maybe like a young person, you may feel like, oh, I'm not qualified enough to speak on this. And this is what I love about, I feel like our kind of like generation, our age group is like, we're like, look, I'm gonna say this, and this is what it is, period.
Yeah,
We might need a little bit more refinement in how we said
right.
it, but
Smooth that
but
out a little bit, right?
just a little bit. But we're gonna say like, look, I feel like I wasn't at the appreciator. I feel like I wasn't this, I wasn't that. We're gonna speak our minds, and I think that it's amazing that that we're getting rid of these like social norms, these generational norms where it's like, oh, like you're young so you cannot speak on this, or it's like, no, the minister said that he learns from everybody. And so it doesn't matter the age. So I feel like we all should be able to be like, this is what it is, XYZ. And as it relates to atonement, like sometimes, like you said, sometimes you may say something where you're just trying to, because like Ilyasa said, for so long, you may feel like, oh, like you may bottle certain things up, or other people may bottle certain things up. So you're saying something, you're trying to, maybe you're just not growing out of that. I'm not going to hold everything in. And you may speak to somebody a little crazy or something in the like glasses of, oh, I'm just like trying to speak my mind, or I'm just trying to share what's going on, because that's real. That happens to literally all of us. I can speak for myself, it happens to me. So I think it's important that it's good that we have that balance where we're able to say something, and we got to be able to love ourselves, accept our own, and be ourselves, and receive information. I know, like I said, or like I've said before, like it's real. Like it's very humbling to be like, I was wrong. Sorry about that. It's real. Like it takes a lot, but it's good to have community and have sisterhood that we're going to sharpen each other and be like, look here, girl, you was wrong. You don't have to apologize. That wasn't proper. You could have said this nicely, And I also want to speak on accepting your own and being yourself. I can like say, growing up in Nation of Islam, you hear that all the time. And I don't know, to me, I think that we're starting to get a better understanding of what that means, or get a better understanding of how broad that statement kind of is. Because it's not like, oh, like accept and want to be yourself. What is yourself? A righteous Muslim? Yes. But who are you as a person? You know what I'm saying? Like I accept my own, be myself. I'm animated. I'm like, you know what I'm saying? I like to be myself, and I do this. That's accepting my own and being myself, of course, with the guidelines or the restrictive laws of Islam, because that in fact is our success. But that also being able to accept your own and how Allah has created you, and loving yourself, truly loving yourself, and viewing yourself how God views you, that helps with the development of our communities, because we all have these different unique gifts, and sometimes we can't even tap into the gifts because we haven't even tapped into the God within ourselves. And even with like working with all of us here in the committee, we've been working for how long? Like 3 years. Our anniversary is coming up, y'all. So hey, but we've been working for like 3 years. I can see how all of us have grown, how all of us have developed more talents. Some of us are leading. We would have never thought that we were going to lead. We're like, what are you talking? Like, I would never. No, like, girl, you got it. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I think that statement is probably one of my all-time favorite nation like statements or quotes and stuff, because it's so broad, but it's not. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just so powerful, like accepting your own and being yourself, and what that can do for the development of all of us, like myself, my friends, my family, so
Right.
Yeah.
Can I add on to that?
Of course.
I just like that quote, you're so right. Like that quote hit different when you come with it. When you grow into a different perspective, I feel like with age, it aged like fine wine. Okay.
Yes.
Like what you want for your brother or sister, what you want for yourself is so real, because it requires you not only to love yourself, yes, of course, like we talked about earlier, but to also humble yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, who are you? Like, there's 7+ billion people on this planet Earth, and who are you not to appreciate the God in somebody else, or the gifts? We're here for like a flicker, you know what I mean? And life, there's so much more to life. And if you can't want for your brother or sister what you want for yourself, you'll never get true joy or true happiness. There was a study done, I think, a while ago about the difference between like happiness and joy. And it was just like happiness comes from like intrinsic things like not material, but like activities or I forget. I don't want to say it wrong, but like true joy comes from doing things for other people. Like you can't experience the chemical equation of that emotion cannot be made until you do something for somebody else. I was just like, what? Like that is crazy. Like the true happiness of the human being comes from doing things for other people. That's why when you do something for your sibling, like, yeah, you can have it. I'm like say I have like I don't know, something left over and they ask for it. You know how siblings are. Everybody knows. Come on now. And I'm like, you can have it. And when they walk away, we're like, but you have that smile on your face. It's like, yeah, whatever, you know. But truly, you feel happy because you know you've made somebody else feel happy. So I just feel like that's a really that it really does hit different, like at a different age with a different perspective. So I just wanted to add that because yeah, I agree.
I also want to add to two things you just said. And the first thing was when you're talking about breaking like generational norms and stuff of being able to like see how you feel. I cannot stress how real that is. Actually, very recently, my family and I, we got together and my parents opened the opportunity for like me and my siblings to be able to come and just talk about any issues or anything that we've had. Like,
shout out to your parents.
Shout out to my parents. Shout out to Sister Donna Muhammad. But yeah. So, and it was so like and even though like it was specific in this instance before, like I do feel like I've always gotten a vibe where I feel like I can like come, in a lot of Black families, let's be real. It's like, okay, I'm the parent and you're the child. And if you don't like it, that's too bad. And it's
beyond that.
loud an opinion, or I felt like this, or I didn't feel like that. And I do feel like I've had an open like space to be able to say, I don't really like that, or I don't love this so much. And being able to feel heard, whether they agree or disagree, whether it's like, well, okay, but I did this because you needed X, Y, this, or it's like, oh, I'm sorry. Having the ability to speak up, because again, if you feel it's not in our nature to be disrespected. It's just not. As a person, as a human being, your nature is not to be okay with disrespect. So when you're constantly disrespected and you don't have the right to speak about the disrespect, then that's going to have issues. And we've seen throughout generations and generations the issues that brought up on a global scale of us as Black people going through the transatlantic slave trade and slavery and being disrespected by people for generations and not being allowed to say, no, I don't like this. And it shows up in our homes of us as, sometimes parents, sometimes children being disrespectful to one another and not being allowed to speak up and say, I don't like this. So the freeing feeling you get when you're allowed to calmly express, I feel like this, and have it received is so real. And that's definitely something that's we have to grow into as we continue to develop. It's atoning not just with each other like outside, but atonement within the house, because everything starts at home. And if atonement within the house is not going on, it's not going to be able to happen outside. And the second thing, really quick, was when you talked about being able to put wrong in your like sisterhood and stuff like that. Yeah, and I just want to say like, that's so real. And that's why, like, honestly, personal note, like being able to on this team, with this group, I feel like we've gotten so good at being able to say, that was great, but it could have been better. And that was good, but this needs to be better. And the way that we're able to move about and do things has, I feel like, gotten so much better. The more comfortable we feel saying, oh, this wasn't great. And it's never rude. It's never snarky. It's never, yeah, you did this and that wrong. Because the spirit you bring something is important too. But being able to have somebody that you're like, okay, I received that. You're right. I shouldn't have done this, or this would have been better. And then you're allowed to grow yourself, because you can't grow. We're not able to see every single flaw that we have. It's impossible. So someone has to be able to point that out, which is the first step in atonement, is point out the wrong. You have to have people, first you have to be able to accept wrong, but you have to have people around you to point it out. And if nobody's there, you're never going to know, you're never going to grow. So yes, yeah.
Oh, you're never going to know, you're never going to grow. Look, quote me on that. Quote her on that.
Dang, all of y'all said some pretty valid points. I'm not even gonna lie. I think it was Sister Najee who was talking about learning how to be yourself. Me, I can most definitely, relate to that. And specifically these group of sisters know that when I first joined the committee, man, I was quiet. I didn't say a word at all. But like, of course, as time goes, you get more comfortable around people. But it's also, at least through my experience, I learned that being around people is usually what helps you, find who you are. And honestly, this is a process that I'm still going through. Like, when I'm in, of course, big groups of people, I still struggle with like, trying to find a place, try to find, like, okay, do I vibe with this group? But it's okay, like, not to vibe, with everyone. Like, it's okay to have your people, and that doesn't mean anything. But I just want to speak to that. And then also, I think it was Sister Alia who said humility to handle certain things. Humility is so important. Like Cecilia also said, we've become people, like the committee, we've become people who hold each other accountable. And of course, over time, that betters us. And not only betters us, but betters our relationship, because it builds trust. Like, I know if I mess up, I'm not like, y'all gonna tell me that I messed up. I'm not gonna be like going around looking like a fool. Like, okay, I messed up. Let me fix that so I'm not making the same mistake again. And that's really, really important. Like, man, yo, I got so much trust in them. It's kind of wild. But then I think there was one last point. Yeah, that was it. Just want to speak to
Okay, I
that.
want to add on to that too. But no, because y'all are really making me think, and that's why I love having these discussions, because it's so true and it's so important. But I just thought of like a scenario like about Joy saying, like, if you're not able to point out the wrong, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's helped us develop so much, especially as a team, as a group, as a committee, as youth in general, and outside, like navigating different areas in life. Like, I'm in college, I'm a college student, I deal with people on a daily basis. I have a group project coming up, like learning how to conflict resolve and just atone with people, and how to just handle yourself and handle people in general. But I thought of this analogy, like, for pointing out that wrong, like, or being able to say, like, hey, that was, you could have did that better. And now we even do it jokingly, like, nah, that was dumb. Like, able to say it like that and laugh, but like, we have each other's backs, because I know that, say for instance, I go to the store and we're shopping, me and Joy, me and Najia, whoever, me and Elias were shopping, and I go and I pick out something, I put it on, I'm like, oh y'all, this is cute, and they're like, yeah, it's so cute. But a real friend is gonna be like, nah, that's ugly, take it off, go back. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how you know that that person really has your back, because they don't want you out here looking crazy. But it's the same way when you're dealing with character, when you're dealing with self-development, you know that that friend really has your back, because they're able to say, no, hold on, you need to fix that, in a positive way, in a loving way. So I just really want to say that that is very real, like in any scenario. So yeah.
And really quick, just real quick, my bad. That reminded me of a situation I have with, like, every time I'm in a situation, I'll call Elias and I'm like, this side of the turn, and then she'll be like, now you were wrong, right? And I'll be like, that's not what I wanted to hear. But she'll be like, you were wrong, right? So like, I appreciate Eliasa for that, of course. And then even Nadia, she'll straight yell at you. She's just
right, blatant, plain right there. Look, plain true.
No, that just come out real quick when she get angry. And then not even gonna talk about Alia. Alia is just passive aggressive. Alia just be like,
Okay.
yeah. And Alia just be like, yeah, totally.
Hey.
It just makes it's crazy. But all of them, like I've grown to appreciate all of their personalities. And then just over time, getting to know them and watching them grow and develop, it's really great. Totally tubular.
LOL. And thank you, Cecilia, also. And I just want to say, like, these are the relationships and the bonds that you gain from doing the work. I think, like, because people, you join the Nation of Islam, or people here, like, you got a sisterhood, you got a brotherhood, but you got to understand, like, that comes, I feel like, and I was just having this conversation with somebody, I feel like those things, like gaining sisterhood and brotherhood and community, those are kind of like pluses. Like, our work, our mission is the resurrection of the mentally dead. And in that work, you gain family. You know what I'm saying? You gain like family. Like, that's just what it is. People who you're able to go to and speak with about things, to keep you on a straight path. Like if somebody's going off, everybody's like, oh, what you doing, girl? It's not what we do. You know what I'm saying? Like we look out for each other, absolutely. And I want to speak to Eliasa's point so far ago, but she said everything starts in the home. That's real. Everything starts in the home. Like so the way that you are raised, or the way that you are raising your children or your family, whatever, like that, you are like the beginning of how they view relationships, either romantically, platonically, like professionally. The way that you are handling them is how they're going to handle people. And I speak on this all the time because I'm the self-care, self-love person. It's important. After a certain age, you have to be responsible for yourself. And it's not like, oh, responsible, like you got to move out and stuff. No, responsible for your emotions, what you are dealing with, how you handle people. Because after a certain age, you cannot keep blaming your family. Come on now, come on. That's what I'm talking about. You cannot keep blaming other people for, oh, well, this is just how I am, or this is all I know. And this is why I love this generation, because we're like, look here, I really don't care. Respectfully, that's great, but let me show you how we're supposed to do this. And it might be, like I said, we might have to tweak how we say certain things, which also comes in the atonement process, being like, okay, look, you were wrong. That's how you should have said it. It also comes with proper handling of people. Also, like, guys, being a Nation of Islam, you really have all the tools.
Yes.
Come
on now.
Like, we're not perfect, but we're striving towards perfection. We have the tools to
build that foundation.
Human beings. We have the tools. You know what I'm saying? We just have to apply them. And this is where putting in the work and you gaining these friendships and senses of community and stuff like that, brotherhood and sisterhood, where you're slacking, your sister or your brother isn't. And so we're able to help each other in the end. So it's like everything we're doing, even if you're like how does this apply here? Trust me, it does. If you don't know it now, you won't know it later. We'll figure it out later. We're always helping each other, and But my point was that everything happens in the home, and regardless, we have to be after a certain age. We cannot keep depending on people to regulate our emotions. We have to learn how to do that. And I think that's also a key part to even the first step of atonement, pointing out the wrong. If you can't even regulate your emotions, and I'm telling you, hey, you were wrong, and you're like, no, I wasn't. It's like, whoa, like we can't even do this. How are we going to develop a community, develop a foundation of people, and bring us back to life mentally if you can't even acknowledge that you were wrong? How are we going to do that? And so it's just that. But everything starts in the home, and may Allah bless us in this journey and all that. Crazy to Allah.
Crazy to Allah.
Crazy to Allah. So I know that we already we somewhat spoke about this, but I want to still like ask it directly. Do you feel like you can speak to the reality of the atonement process in your own personal relationships, whether it be platonically, professionally? How do you feel like you could speak to it?
Yes, 1000% personally. I would say I might get like two people can do it, but I had a conversation a couple of years back, and it was so interesting because it started. There was a conference between some people that. And so in it, somebody was like, okay, well, let's try to do the atonement thing. But then they tried to rush through the atonement. So it was like all 8 steps in a matter of like 5 minutes. Now I'm still tight. The person is still tight. We're both still like, no, because you can't rush atonement. You really can't. And what was happening was so like immediate that the emotions were still 100% fresh. So we both apologized, but neither of us meant it for her. Both of us were like, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry too. It wasn't until like later, like where we could go through, give it some time, take some time to cool off. Because I really was like, not that I was done with the person, but I was like, no, like I'm pissed off about the situation. I'm really like, I don't know how I feel, da. And I was like, oh no, I love this person down. I love them down so bad.
Wow.
But it took a minute because first, if we hadn't had the atonement session, I don't think I would feel like that. I think I still would have told some type of thing for this person because of the way the situation went. I didn't like how something was handled. And even though we went through it, if we hadn't gone through it correctly, if we would have just stayed right there with we rushed through eight steps of atonement and we give each other a fake apology, I still would not have close to the same level of relationship that I have with this person, or the love that I have for this person. It wouldn't be the same because Atonement takes time. Atonement is not overnight. And especially if you're right in the moment, the emotions are fresh. I'm raging, you're raging, or even if
Mhm.
you're raging, if we're both upset, you need a minute. You need to take a minute, step back, cool off, get your drink of water, come back next week. But yeah, I wouldn't have the same level of like love that I have for this person had we not gone through the atonement process. So 1000%. And it's like, and I know for a fact because there's other situations where I haven't been able to do the atonement process correctly for whatever reason. And it's like that's something that I have to go back to with those different situations because that has affected the situations and how I deal and stuff like that. And that's not good when you're talking about, and I know I keep going back to this, but we're in the military. We say we're in the military of God. In the military, you gotta put the shoulder in ranks, which means I gotta know you're willing to die for me and I'm willing to die for you. So if I'm holding this grudge, that grudge, I can't trust you, you can't trust me. We have nothing. There's no brotherhood, there's no sisterhood, there's nothing. Because the enemy can come in real easy and be like, well, I heard beyond and you already don't like them. So you're quick to be like, that makes sense. That makes sense. It could be the farthest that there is, or it could be so skewed that it's basically not truth anymore. But you already don't like them, so you're looking for a reason to have an issue with them. So you got to be tight. We have to make sure that even if not everybody's going to like each other, that's just real. Some personalities don't mesh 1000% with others, but it doesn't matter because we have to be united with each other. Unity isn't working with people you like. It's easy to work with people you like. It's learning how to work with people that it takes some effort to work with. It takes some effort to get along with, but effort is necessary in the survival of the nation.
I wanted to speak on you may not like everybody. That's real. And I think this goes to, because you ever heard like, you love this person, but you don't like them?
Yes.
The love got to be deep at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? The love has to be deep. And this goes right back to when it's talking about like, we have to have love. We have to increase our love. That's real, like it doesn't matter if you don't like them. And again, some personalities, I don't know who said this earlier. Maybe it was Alia. I'm not sure, but somebody has said earlier, like you're not going to get along with everybody. And that's fine. It's a whole bunch of us with a whole bunch of different experiences. That's fine that you're not gonna like everybody. It doesn't mean that there has to be it doesn't mean that there has to be beef. It doesn't mean that there has to be any issue with them. I love you, you love me. All right, let's go. If you telling me, yo, we at war, what's up? You doing it? You know what I'm saying? It doesn't mean that I'm not gonna have your back. Oh no, I don't like. That's not what we do. That's not what we do.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for that. I also wanted to I don't know, you mentioned something about, I don't know if, I can't remember what exactly you said, but I wanted to just speak on it. Maybe it will like come back to me, but also like platonic relationships, we should prioritize, not necessarily prioritize them, but the steps in which we handle them. You see a lot of on social media, like, oh, like when we are dealing with romantic relationships, we should do this, we should do this, we should do this. It's like, it's not just this. It's also with your brothers and your sisters, your community. How, like, you can't just, oh, like, good, I don't care about nobody else. I'm married, I'm over here. It's like, no, this is the community. We all got to make sure we straight. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to mention that. But thank you for that, sister. So Alia, do you have something to say?
I do. To the question, I feel like in my own interpersonal life or my own interpersonal like relationships with other people, I can't say that I have had an atonement session per se, but I definitely feel like it has this whole process, this whole conversation, this whole idea of atonement has helped me navigate a lot of different relationships in the way that I handle people and the way that I talk to people, because I'm not trying to get to that point where there is a conflict. So you can't get a rise out of me, basically. Like the whole process in of itself is to atone with such and such person. It may not even be on your side. It may be on the other side and it's one-sided, but they feel like as if you've done something to them, but you still have to have that level of, like we talked about before, love, humility, want for your brother or sister what you want for yourself, and be able to humble yourself, go to them, be like, I don't know if whatever I said or done to offend you, because feelings are real. Feelings aren't facts, but they are real. And you have to address that. You have to go to that person with the mindset of, this is my brother or sister, or this is somebody that I need to have this relationship with or work with in the future. I have to resolve this. But it takes that level of humbling yourself. So me personally, in my own relationships, I can't say that it has affected me in a way where I haven't had to use it. You get what I'm saying? Or I haven't had to get that far. Praise be to Allah. I mean, I'm sure there will be future situations that I will encounter where I will need to use the atonement process. But I feel like if you like, what's that quote that those smart people learn from others' mistakes, something like that. That's what I feel like. I don't want to let it get to that point, because we're trying to grow into the thinking of God. We're God's growing and developing, and in our growth and development, we have to understand that it's going to take us to not only to atone and to resolve it, but to prevent. So I've been able to, by the grace of Allah, prevent a lot of situations there. I could have had beef with plenty of people. Listen here, because I am Caribbean and I have a little, you know what I'm saying? But by the grace of Allah, I'm able to calm that and really take a step back and look at the bigger picture of community development, of, just dealing with certain people in situations with a spirit of love and a spirit of atonement already in my heart. You get what I'm saying? I don't want a problem with you. You get what I'm saying? So I just been able to navigate so far. Like I said, there may be future situations where this will be very helpful, and I'm thankful that I can put this tool on my tool belt to build that foundation for me as a growing young adult. But the atonement process is very necessary, and I feel like just learning the steps and learning how to navigate with people has already helped me to prevent any conflict or anything like that. So I feel like that's the effect that it's had on my personal life already, and inshallah I'll be able to use it not only for myself but for future situation where other people maybe being the middleman or things like that. But yes, praise be to Allah.
Just based off what Alia said about like preventing, like stuff builds up. Like there are some people who don't say anything if you did hurt their feelings or if something did happen. There are those people out there. So if like you notice like that person may be acting a bit weird toward you or whatever the situation may be, it's okay to go to them, put your pride aside and go to them and say, hey, are you okay? Did I do something? Like, why are you acting this way? And that just kind of shows, and I think this is what Sister Ali was talking about, like the smart ones learn from their mistakes, and then the wise learn from others' mistakes.
Yes, that was the quote. Thank you.
I think that's a good example of that, because I'm sure many of us have like witnessed a situation where there was someone who felt ill-mannered, like Cecilia was talking about earlier, ill-mannered about someone else, and then another person goes to them with some type of situation that happened, and they're like, oh yeah, I knew it. That's an example. But if you just go to the person and ask them straight up, like, yo, what's up? That really just slices everything that could have built up, and kind of also shows the person like, hey, I care. Like that's important in our community, to show that we care, because nowadays people have so much stuff going on with them. We want to look cool, we're trying to act a certain manner or we're trying to show off, but like none of that is important. At the end of the day, people need to be checked on. Like sometimes people just need a way to vent or someone to go to. So yeah.
I wanted to also speak about like healing within ourselves, because it's very important to heal. Alia had mentioned that while feelings may not be, what did you say? Feelings may not be real or something along that.
Feelings aren't facts.
Feelings aren't facts. Yes, thank you. Okay, so sometimes I know I can speak for myself. There was a point in my life where I was taking offense to everything. I was like, oh my gosh, like take this person did this. It's like, no, sweetie, you're unhealed. You dealt with something at a certain point in your life, and so because of that, you're receiving things that aren't really there. You know what I'm saying? And that's why it's important to heal, because when you heal within, like we are saying, within yourself, you're able to rise above emotions. And you may feel it's because if I'm coming to you saying, this was wrong, I didn't like that you did this. Well, you did this to me because that we can't even start the atonement process because you're not even mentally there. And sometimes, well, not mentally there, you're not emotionally there. And like Sister Ilyasa had said, sometimes you need to take a break to atone. And that's real. And I think that's something that we don't always speak about. But a break isn't 10 years. A break isn't, you don't know what's going to
Come
happen
on.
in 10 years. You don't know what's going to happen in 20 years. So that's not a break. Sometimes you need to come back maybe after a few days and then be like, okay, I'm ready to speak about this. I can say some of the people I'm closest to, we ain't speak for a good amount of time. You know what I'm saying? So, and it's real. You grow up, you get older, you're able to now have these types of conversations. But it's okay to take a minute and be like, you know what, okay, let me deal with this, let me come back. And now I'm able to, yes, I felt this way because of this past thing that you didn't even, it really didn't even have anything to do with you. You just brought it up out of me, you know? So I just want to speak on the importance of healing. Does anyone else have anything to say or to stipulate?
Just really quick on what you said, and also don't be hard on yourself through the healing process, because like sometimes, you know, as things come up, we start seeing things within ourselves. Don't beat up on yourself. Just fix it and move forward. You know, and of course that's a lot easier said than done. But like, listen, a lot comes through. Hit the prayer run. Open the holy Quran. You
Come on
know,
now.
he comes through.
And I also just want to quickly say healing isn't linear. Like you're not just, oh, I'm healed. No.
Yeah.
You're going to be working on things for years. I feel like we have this like perception that like, oh my God, like I'm healed. I'm over it now. No, because it may come back up in another form and you're like,
Right.
oh
Come
shoot, like
on.
I didn't know I was still like dealing with this. So it's okay to sometimes be like, oh my God, this still got me upset. I didn't want to get upset about this. That's okay, but how did you handle it? That is what shows the growth and development, you know.
Right.
So
Oh.
no, you can
Joy, you wanted to go?
I was just gonna say healing is a trial.
Come on. Oof, heavy on that. And I was gonna add to that same topic. So yeah, heavy on healing isn't linear, because you can't just say, or slap a band-aid on there and be like, you know, all is good, all is well. I did my interpersonal work. No, it's gonna take some time. You know what I mean? It's gonna take some time for that wound to close up and truly feel at peace with the situation, whatever it may be. You know what I mean? So that's another part of the atonement process, is that healing. Once you atone, okay, it's gonna take some time for that wound to close up. It's not gonna be immediate, like, yeah, now we could talk every day again. No, it's gonna take a little bit of time, and that's okay. You know, don't try to or force it, or let anybody force it upon you. Be like, oh, we atoned, apparently, you know, because it can. I would say you have that conversation, you know, and out of that conversation, everything was resolved. Praise be to Allah. But that wound isn't closed up for you yet, and they're trying to, you know, resume back as if everything was before the situation, you know, and that's just not real. That's just not realistic. And it may be for some. It matters how small or big the conflict was, but I definitely agree that healing is not linear, and it's going to take some time after the atonement process to really let that wound close up. And it should be closing during the atonement process as well, because like Eliasa said, you can't have that the animosity in your heart if you're trying to atone with someone. So but I definitely feel that we should each give ourselves grace, because like we're not perfect and everything, and you know, it's going to take time. That's it.
I just want to quickly say that everything does happen for a reason also. So like you may be like, oh my God, like I was like this and XYZ, that's okay. You had whatever experiences you had growing up or whatever you dealt with, and which made you behave in a certain manner, that's okay. You know what I'm saying? But you have to be continuous in your growth, wanting to be better. That's the thing. You have to have a desire to want to be better. You can't just be like, oh, I'm gonna be better. And now, because the situation is going to keep presenting itself.
Right.
One thing about it, two things for sure. If you saying, oh, I'm over it, it's like I'm gonna be better, it's gonna keep happening. And you're gonna be like, oh my God, why do I keep dealing with this? Because you're not handling it properly. Or
Right.
you have something for you at the end of that situation. And Allah's like, you ain't doing this, girl. Come on. You're supposed to be there. You're almost there. You're almost there. And as
Right.
you master how you're handling the situation, then whatever Allah has for you will reveal itself. So all praises to Allah. I love this conversation. I always love talking with you all. I know people are like, oh my God, like this is really like conversation based, and I wanted it to be conversation based, because we have these types of conversations all the time. And I think it's important for everyone to be part of those conversations, or for us as a community, period. Not just in the Nation of Islam, but for as a community, as Black people, to have these types of conversations, because it's real, you know?
Right.
So thank you so much for joining, and thank you all for listening and for watching. We pray that you all enjoyed this conversation. And for those who may not know, we do in fact have a part 2 coming up with our brothers. So stay tuned for that. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel by clicking the subscribe button below, and follow us on Instagram at Official Youth Committee. If you would like to learn more about the committee, you can join our next Sunday open meeting, which will take place Sunday, October 29th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can also click the link in our Instagram bio. I will repeat, at Official Youth Committee. You can click the link in our bio for our Youth Committee volunteer form. Does anyone have anything else to share or to say? Nope. Okay. Praise be to Allah. Thank you. And we can close as we begin in prayer. Oh, you have something to say?
Attention.
Oh, sorry.
Yo, this is us 24 hours a day. Sorry. Okay.
Literally.
Attention prayer. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. Ihdina sirata al-mustaqim. Sirata alladhina an'amta alayhim. Ghayril maghdubi alayhim. Wala dolin. Ameen.
Thank you so much
Praise
for
be to
joining.
Allah.
Assalamualaikum.